Hi, everybody. This is Attack with Larry C. I'm your host, Larry Christiansen, and it seems like the year 2010 is will become noted for the passing of many of the our greatest chess players. We've lost Bent Larson, we've lost Vasily Smyslov, and now we learn of the passing of American Grandmaster, five-time U.S. champion, four-time U.S. Open champion, and nine-time member of the U.S. Chess Olympic team. Larry Evans died at the age of 78. And I knew Larry Evans, and he was a very personable player and person, and well noted for his chess journalism. He was and his work with the late Bobby Fischer. They were close, well, especially during Bobby Fischer's New York period. They were quite close. And of course, they played many times in the various U.S. championships. Now, Larry Evans was not noted as a great attacking player. He was noted for as a matter of fact, he was the opposite. He was known as a great, brilliant defender. So not too many instructive, brilliant attacking games were played by Larry Evans, but he did play a few. Notably, the following battle from 1946, New York 1946, against a noted American master, Carl Pilnick, a future American Open champion and master. Okay, I'll talk a little more about Evans. Now, I first met and dealt with Larry Evans in 1970 in a tournament which he won. It was the Monterey Open, California Monterey Open 1970, and I played him in the Blitz tournament. I remember that, and I remember he was very good at accepting gambits and refuting them over the board. Evans would often take incredible risks in search of pawns, stray pawns, and he was a very, very tough defender. He grabbed a pawn. He was perfectly happy having his opponent throw wave after wave of material at him, and he would sit back and defend. He was also a noted author, as I mentioned. His most famous work was the popularization of the modern chess opening series, MCO10, which he was the main. In those days, this was before computers. He had to research this by hand and include games from recent bulletins and overseas magazines and so forth. And it was quite a stupendous effort to collect that much information and put it in one modern opening book. As a chess book, it was one of the leading bestsellers. Also, another excellent book by Larry Evans that I personally got a lot out of was his book, New Ideas in Chess. I think it was written in the 60s at some point. Kind of a dry technical book, but it certainly illustrated many of the important themes in chess: time, space, material, those factors, king safety, and he presented it in a very lucid and readable and instructive manner. So, New Ideas in Chess by Larry Evans. It really was an excellent middle game and strategic chess book about strategy and middle game. I advise, if it's in stock, get it. Definitely worth buying. And of course, his modern chess opening series was excellent too. I knew Larry Evans as a captain of the 1982 Olympiad team. I played Larry Evans a few times in U.S. championships. He was a dangerous opponent. and especially you did not give material lightly to Larry Evans. He would refute you, and a great technical player. If there was a refutation, he would find it. Uh, and he was, of course, very successful in U.S. chess, winning the U.S. Open numerous times, as I mentioned, and the U.S. Championship 5 times. That's a number only exceeded by, I believe, by Walter Brown and Bobby Fischer. Okay, now this following game, I think Larry Evans in an interview once said this following game from 1946 was one of his best, even at the very tender age of 14, represented one of his best attacking displays. Certainly, it was a book that brought him notice to the chess world. Now, it's a lesson. I like this game. You see a youngster confronted with an opening. He doesn't know much about it, obviously. His opponent has the edge. The opponent plays quite well, and it looks like he's going. And they have a mutual the opposite side castle, and it looks like Black will be ahead in the race. But one or two sluggish moves lets Evans get back into it, and some brilliant tactical imagination brings Larry Evans to victory. So here it is from 1946, the late Larry Evans, one of his all-time best attacking games. Here we go. And we see a classical French with Larry Evans playing the less than stellar bishop takes f6. The best move here undoubtedly is e5. When Black can choose between knight fd7 and knight e4, both playable. Generally speaking, White gets a slight edge. But bishop takes f6 gives away the bishop pair just for the sake of gaining a little space on the king side. It is a forceful continuation. Perhaps in 1946, this move was highly regarded. Okay, so White does bring his queen out to the excellent attacking square g4. The problem is, though, White has no natural defender of his pawn chain in the form of a dark squared bishop, and so he risks seeing his pawn chain dissolve through a natural black counterattack. So Pilnik castles into it. That's correct, and Evans castles. Now in hindsight, maybe knight f3, something just using piece play would have been a safer continuation, but at age 14, you're looking to attack. Okay, now Black immediately addresses White's center. That's correct move, and Evans launches his attack. The only problem is Black's counterattack is already set in. He takes. Now, perhaps d takes c5 was an improvement over h4, but still White's position is not very happy. So here's Evans' idea. Now he plays knight ce2, not rook takes d4, knight c6, when clearly Black is totally in charge. Knight ce2 allows White to keep his e5 beachhead for a while. So Black plays knight c6, f4. He needs that pawn to cramp the Black king side. But here Black's counterattack really is set in very quickly. Queen a5, good move. King b1, another good move here from Pilnik. d3. I'm sure he was feeling supremely confident against his younger opponent at this stage. Now if rook takes d3, Black unfortunately has queen e1 check, knight c1, queen takes f1, winning a piece. So White's options are limited. He must take with the pawn. Okay, so she takes d3. Now here Pilnik could have exploited his the rupture in White's king position by playing knight b4. Then if knight c1 defending a2, he plays queen a4, black, threatening queen c2, and then white has to contort himself to fend off the attack. And then if rook d2, for instance, then bishop d7 is quite strong. The idea being if a3, rook a c8, a takes b4, rook takes c1 check wins for black nicely. King takes c1, queen a1 check, king c2, rook c8 check, and king b3, bishop a4 mate. Odds are Evans would have gone down quickly with the ship after queen a4, and b3 is very, very weakening. Black can then play queen a3, and suddenly white's confronted with cheap shots on a2, not to mention bishop d7, rook c8. He's well ahead of schedule in the attacking department. But Evans, Pilnik played a little bit too solidly with bishop d7, and now Evans plays an excellent move that keeps him in the game, rook h3, combining attack and defense. Now the rooks obviously can participate in the attack on the g file, but also can assist if need be on the third rank, extending over to the squares like a3 and b3 and so forth. So already Evans is getting the most out of his pieces here with a good try, rook h3. And now black played rook ac8. That's correct. It's a fine move. All right. So now, after rook g3, g6, d4, Evans brings the rook on g3 into play on the queen side for defensive purposes. And here now black should not have played. He plays in very routine fashion. Now it takes some imagination and some energy here to put white away. Now he should have played knight b4 instead of b5. He should have played knight b4. Now a3 is just simply too weakening. Black is completely crushed after bishop a4, with threats too numerous to mention. The only try is rook a3, but then black still plays bishop a4, threatening bishop c2 check, big threat. And now white's which also will, by the way, bolster kingside defenses. If then b3, b5, and white is getting destroyed. B takes a4, b takes a4, and now white king is just no match for the upcoming tsunami of attack on the b and c files, not to mention knight c2 and so forth. So that Pilnik, if he had played knight b4, probably would have been a put away. But instead he played the sluggish and routine b5, and now Larry Evans, the young Larry Evans, quickly climbs back into the game with h5. Okay, so now black plays knight b4. That's correct. White plays now he can play a3 without fearing bishop a4 though. So the attack here is very close all of a sudden. And here now black had to play knight c2. That was the correct move. And he should still have a successful conclusion to his attack with knight c2. Although white certainly has some various tricks up his sleeve here, black should prevail. But he played, again, another routine move, knight c6. And now white's attack gathers momentum. H takes g6. Now black plays f takes. Doesn't want to have an open h file to contend with. F takes g6. And now white gets the knight, plays knight c3 to bring the bishop on f1 into play. Black plays b4. That's logical. And white is forced now to go for all out for the attack. Bishop d3, threatening bishop takes g6. Critical moment coming up. Pilnik now defends with bishop e8, so g6 is now covered nicely. And if queen takes g6 check, well, looks like bishop f7 will hold. Evans finally clears the first rank to make the H file available to this dormant rook on D1. Brings his last piece into play with knight F3. Beautiful. And now Black is confronted with some serious threats. Okay, now Black tries to defend after bishop D3 with, let's say, knight F3 with, let's say, bishop F7. Then White crashes through with rook H1, B takes C3, queen H3, threatening mate. And if H5, then queen takes H5. There's no defense to queen H7 or queen H8 mate. So, after knight F3, Pilnik tried B takes A3. Now, if B takes E3, B takes C3, White wins, similar to the game. A little bit different. It goes as follows. Bishop takes queen takes E6 check, bishop F7, bishop takes G6. Now, if bishop takes E8, White forces mate with bishop takes H7 check. We'll get to that type of variation a little later. But Black here can play queen B5, threatening mate on B2. And surprisingly, there's no mate. There's no striking queen sacrifice mates. Bishop takes H7 check here would lose. There's no good checks after king H8. And also after bishop takes F7 check, no good checks. Black's getting there before White does. So after B takes C3, queen takes E6 check, bishop F7, bishop takes G6, queen B5. White should play queen takes F7 check, rook takes F7 check, rook takes F7, bishop D3 check, followed by bishop takes B5, and the positions approximately equal. Now Black can also play B takes C3, queen takes E6 check, bishop F7, bishop takes G6, queen B6, threatening mate again, and also avoiding bishop D3 check ideas. But then now that suddenly there's a difference. After bishop takes H7 check, king H8, White plays the miracle B4. The knight on C6 is pinned to the queen. Now bishop takes E6, rook H3 forces mate. Crazy position. And so apparently, after queen B5, bishop takes H7 check, king H8 does not work because after B4, knight takes B4, Black crashes through. So after queen B5 is the best move, when White should play queen takes F7 check, rook takes F7, bishop D3 check with an approximately equal game. But let's check out the game conclusion. Here, Pilnik played B takes A3, and that lost to an exceptionally nice finish. Queen takes E6 check. Well, that's easy to see. Bishop F7, but now bishop takes G6, double exclam. Okay, so what happens if I take the queen? Well, then White wins with bishop takes H7 check. Now, if king H8, rook H1 is decisive, and if king F7, White wins with bishop G6 check, king G8 or G7, bishop E8 check, covering that escape square, followed by a rook to the H file. So after bishop takes G6, White crashes through. No defense. So Pilnik tried A takes B2. Game concluded. Bishop takes H7 check. King H8, rook H, queen H6. That's the best move. He needs the rook. Now queen A1 check was a big threat. And now Evans noticed that Black had nothing, no serious attack, no breakthrough attack on the king side. Queen A1 check, king C2. Another desperation attempt by Pilnik Knight b4, knight takes d4 check also failed after king d2. Not king d3, queen takes d1 check. That's not as good. But king d2 wins. Then if knight takes f3 check, g takes f3, black's running out of good checks. So after instead, Pilnik tried b1 equals queen check. Evans played rook takes b1. Black played knight b4 check, hoping for rook takes b4. But of course now white plays king d1. No further productive checks by black, and meanwhile mate is a certainty on the king side. White's already broken through, so here black resigned. A nice victory, one of Evans' rare sacrificial attacking games. He was, as I mentioned, he was well known as a brilliant defender and willing to go to any lengths to snatch a pawn, win the exchange, win material. He was a very materialistic player. He'd take that pawn and say, "Show me what do you got here?" Now, constant refrain. What do you got here? What do you got for the pawn? I'm trying to do my Larry Evans imitation. He had a very distinctive accent. So what do you got here for the pawn? So he will be very definitely missed in the chess world, a legendary figure in American chess, and now it's another sad day for the chess world. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. This is Larry Christiansen welcoming you to stay tuned to further episodes of Attack with Larry C. Thanks for joining me.